Welcome back to Titletown Talk with your host, Jackson Tolliver. We're going to talk Patriots free agency today. We're going to preview the Celtics, review what they did this week, the Bruins and the Revs, as always. But for now, we have a lot to get into here with what the Patriots did in their free agency frenzy and maybe what they didn't do as well. So what I'm going to first do is go through every single re-signing or signing that they've made so far and give them a grade for that signing based off the monetary value, based off the value of the player, what they're getting back, and also based off the other options that they could have had available based off the rest of this free agency class. So let's start with Big Mike. The right tackle, Mike Onwenu, signed a deal for 3 years and $57 million. Could be up to $57 million. When I say all these deals, the money is what it could be when you add in incentives. So Mike Onwenu is, in my opinion, the biggest signing that the Patriots have made. He's the person they spend the most money on so far with this deal. And for me, I would give this an A. Mike Onwenu is someone who I think is one of the best players on the Patriots roster, you know, if you talk about pound for pound in their position. He's been really versatile. He's been moved around the offensive line. He's played some guard. I think he's really good at that right tackle spot, which is where he landed towards the end of the season. I think if they kept him there the whole season, and if they continue to keep him there moving forward, he could easily make a Pro Bowl. He's that good. He was ranked as the 25th overall free agent by Pro Football Focus and the 4th best offensive lineman. So, you know, in a class that was actually pretty deep with offensive linemen, that's a pretty high honor to be ranked that highly. He's been really good. He's protecting the quarterback well, and we need that on the Patriots, especially as we're going into a new quarterback situation where it's most likely going to be a rookie. Maybe not at first. We'll talk about that moving forward, but you need to beef up the protection, and more importantly, you need to pay the players that have really been the only saving grace for your team. And what I've liked about the Patriots' approach so far this free agency is that I feel like they've done that. They've brought back a lot of the guys who have made them good. Or not good, but they've been the good parts of a bad team. And Mike Onwenu is, without a doubt, one of those guys. Staying on offense, let's talk about Kendrick Bourne. 3 years, up to $33 million. I would give this one a B+. Kendrick Bourne, for me, has been a huge bright spot on offense. I think he's been the best wide receiver that the Patriots have had. You could argue Jacoby Myers, but I'm saying since Tom Brady left, Jacoby Myers did better from a production standpoint, but I feel like in terms of a talent standpoint, Kendrick Bourne is very good. For whatever reason, he wasn't involved in Matt Patricia's offense. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering this correctly, he missed a practice or something, or a team meeting, and they just really went way too hard on him for it. He's a really talented guy. To get him for $33 million, I mean, that's $11 million a year, and that's with incentives, so they'll probably end up paying him even less. And, you know, the reason why I wouldn't give, you know, I'm raving about him, why I wouldn't give it an A is because he is coming off of a torn ACL. So you never know with an injury that severe, how it's going to impact the athlete, if they're going to be, you know, ready to go. I assume he's going to be ready to go day one for this season, but, you know, if they're going to be in the same shape that they were in last year, we really just don't know. But I think Kendrick Bourne has a great attitude. I think he's a good, you know, locker room guy. He's a great leader on offense. So I'm pretty happy with this move. I think he's a good guy to bring back. I wish they would bring back more wide receivers or bring in more wide receivers. We'll get into that. But for now, I think it's a good start. I think he's a solid wide receiver 2 or 3. So yeah, I would give it a B+. I'll touch on Kyle Duggar. They transition tagged him, so there's no deal yet. But this is a signing for me as well. I think Kyle Duggar's been one of the best defenders you've had. Plays that safety position really well. He's versatile. He can rush. He can, you know, do just about anything you need him to do on the defensive side of the ball. So that's a player that you keep around. Again, you keep your best players, you bring them back. Again, he's transition tagged, so we don't know. The Patriots can match an offer from another team if it does come in. I'm not sure if it will come in, but yeah, I'm happy with bringing back Kyle Duggar. It seems like that's what they're gonna do. Josh Uche, 1 year, $3 million. A+ for me to bring him back on such a cheap deal when he had better money coming in from other teams. He really wanted to stay in New England. I don't know why he really wanted to stay in New England because their record has been terrible, but whatever. I mean, he had 12 sacks in 2022. He was looking really good. He had a little bit of an off year last year. So this to me is kind of a prove it re-signing, right? You bring a guy back on a 1 year cheap deal and, you know, let him do his thing, see if he can get back to that level that he was at 2 years ago. And if he does, great, you sign him to a long-term extension. If he doesn't, you let him walk. I think a lot of people thought that Uche was going to be on another team next year. I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to come back. Nobody thought the Patriots were going to be able to get him for this cheap. I definitely didn't. So a $3 million deal for a guy that's a really solid defender and has been since you drafted him, this is a great deal. I'd give it an A+. Speaking of great defenders, homegrown defenders who have been really, really good, Anthony Jennings had a breakout year last year with the Patriots, 3 years, $24 million. I'll give this one an A because you have to bring back your guys. Like I said, he had career highs in every stat last year. He's been consistently one of the best run defenders on the team. So why not? Bring him back. Like, the Patriots defense has never been the problem. They were not the problem this year at all. So why are people complaining online that you're just bringing back the same players that made them bad last year? When was the defense the problem? The Patriots had a top 10 defense in the NFL. I think they were 7th in terms of yards allowed. So why are people complaining about this? Like, bring back the guys that made you so good and ideally also figure out offense. If you want to complain about the Patriots' lack of moves on offense, I understand that. That I totally get. But don't complain about bringing these guys back that have put the Patriots in a good spot defensively, because now if you throw in those offensive pieces, you have these guys to build on. And most of these guys that I've mentioned besides Uche, we're bringing on for multiple years. And this is obviously a multi-year rebuild with the Patriots. I don't expect them to be really good this coming year with a rookie quarterback and not a clear wide receiver one as of now. So it's good to keep these guys locked on for years and know that, okay, you don't have to worry about the defense in terms of a rebuild. You only have to rebuild one side of the ball, which will take a lot of time, don't get me wrong, and it's a pretty tall order, but it's good to me to not have to worry about your defense because this is a great defense, and you're bringing back the guys that made you a great defense. Moving over to some of the guys that the Patriots brought in, because everyone I've talked about so far is a re-signing. The first news that Patriots fans got was Antonio Gibson, 3 years, $17.25 million is the max value. Okay, I have mixed feelings about Antonio Gibson. I'll tell you the grade. I'll give it a C+. Now, I think Antonio Gibson will have a decent year on the Patriots, or if they keep him for all 3 years, I think he'll be fine. He's sort of that pass catching back. He was a wide receiver in college. Reminds me of what the Patriots used to do with James White. He's like a third down back that can, get open for the new quarterback, sort of a safety blanket, good check down guy. So I think that he'll be a good piece. The reason why I give this a C+ is because I think the Patriots could have went in another direction with running back. This was a really deep running back class for this free agency period, and there was a lot of solid options. Sorry, my camera was tilting. So for me, it's like, yeah, you could have done a little bit better than Antonio Gibson. And I'm not saying you need to splurge for a game-changing running back, but also, why not? I mean, Ramondre's had so many injury problems. If you could get a solid running back like some of the ones that were on the market, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, who else? Saquon Barkley even, right? If you could have locked down one of those guys and maybe moved on from Ramondre, that's a great way to revitalize your offense quick. That's a quick fix to get a guy like that who's capable of just completely changing your offense. So it's a C+ for me. He'll be fine and he'll play behind Ramondre. I haven't given up on Ramondre yet, nor do I think anyone should. He's been good when he's been on the field. He just has proven to be slightly injury prone, which does scare me a little bit. But C+ for that, I think will be a good option on third down. Austin Hooper, the new tight end 2 on the Patriots, 1 year, $4.25 million. I'll give this one a B. Mike Gesicki and Farrell Brown walked. I'll get into that. But I think that this is good. He'll play well behind Hunter Henry. I've seen flashes from Austin Hooper where he's looked really good. He's not the fastest tight end, but he's strong and he's a good blocker. I don't see why this would be a bad signing. I think it's fine. I actually think it's I don't know if I want to say it's an upgrade from Gesicki. He got paid more than Gesicki did. I don't know, but Gesicki was really good last year. I guess we'll have to wait and see if it's an upgrade or a downgrade from Gesicki, but for now I'll give it a B. It doesn't move the needle too much, obviously, but it's fine for what it is. Now, the interesting one, because it is the most important position in football. The Patriots did sign a new quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, bringing him back home, their former draft pick in 2016. 1 year, $8 million. I'm going to give this one an A- for what it is. Again, that's not me saying that Jacoby Brissett is an A- quarterback. That's not what this is. This is me grading the deal And I think that Jacoby Brissett is a perfect bridge guy. He knows the system. He played under Alex Van Pelt, the new offensive coordinator's offense. He's played for the Patriots. He's been in Foxborough. He knows how much the fans care. And he performed well with the Patriots from what I remember. I'm pretty sure that he got a couple starts back when Brady was suspended for 4 games because Garoppolo went down with an injury, if my memory serves me correctly. And he was good, I thought. I remember being kind of bummed when we let him go because, no one knew how much longer Tom was going to stick around. So I'm happy with this move. Obviously, he's not the future. He's a short-term fix. But I would love to see him start week 1 and have Jaden Daniels or Drake May, whoever the Patriots end up getting, sitting behind him, learning from him for a little bit until they're actually ready to go. Unless, of course, they come in and they're ready to set the world on fire and they're, killing it in practice and training camp, then okay, give them the start. But I love having Jacoby Brissett as a backup guy, as a bridge quarterback. I think it's a perfect role for him. He's a team first guy. It's been well documented that he's a great locker room presence, great mentor. He's been in the NFL for 8 years now. Blink and you'll miss it, right? But I think that this is a great move from the Patriots. So I've been happy with the guys that they've brought in. And I've been happy with the guys, for the most part, they've decided to let go of. Mike Gesicki, he was fine, but you don't need him. Devontae Parker, good riddance. I mean, that might be one of the worst moves of Bill Belichick's front office career, extending him. I didn't see it. He ranked dead last in separation last year, and I think the year before. He just couldn't get any separation from his targets, or for his targets, rather, so he couldn't, he just couldn't be productive on offense. Had some huge drops. I think he really hurt Mac Jones' career because he's cost Mac Jones some big moments. Didn't have a good attitude. I didn't like what I saw from him in certain post-game interviews, like after he dropped that one against the Raiders. It was a great throw from Mac, and he just dropped it, went off his fingertips, and I didn't like the way he acted after that. Never seemed like he really wanted to be here, never seemed like he bought in. He's on the Eagles now. The Patriots will be paying the majority of his contract. Whatever. Good riddance. Get rid of him. Mac Jones, I touched on it last episode. I think it's good for both sides. He wasn't going to get any time here, and it's good for him to get a restart in his hometown, the team that he grew up supporting. So I'm happy for Mac Jones. I have no ill will towards him whatsoever. Jalen Mills, I'm pretty bummed about, I'll be honest. Jalen Mills is gone. I can't remember where he signed to, or if he even is signed yet. I got to look this up, because I'm pretty sure he did sign somewhere, but he's not with the Patriots anymore. I do know that. Jalen Mills has signed with the New York Giants, so I don't think he's going to move the needle there too much. But I'm actually bummed out about that. I think Jalen Mills was pretty solid, but whatever. The Patriots, I guess, are pretty deep in their secondary now, so you don't need to keep a guy that's kind of for depth between Jabril Peppers, Kyle Duggar. In terms of your cornerback situation, you're going to get Christian Gonzalez back, Marcus Jones back, so they're pretty deep in their secondary, so I understand that one, but I am pretty bummed because I thought he had some good moments. Same with Adrian Phillips, who they released. But again, deep secondary, so I get it. Farrell Brown, the other guy that they let go of. And Mac Wilson. Mac Wilson I was surprised by. I thought they were going to keep him. I thought he was pretty solid. And Farrell Brown was also pretty solid as a TE3, but I guess whatever. Maybe they add one in the draft. Maybe they have another plan for that. Bummer to let go of all those guys, but again, I think who they prioritized re-signing was very clear. So I understand why they made the moves that they did, and I'm glad that they made the moves that they did in terms of re-signing their guys, bringing back most of the pieces on their defense that was good. Their defense was good last year. It was great, but the offense has mightily struggled ever since Tom Brady left, besides that first season with Mac, which was pretty good. So yeah, looking forward now, who are they going to target? There have been reports that now they've given up on the wide receiver spot because they did lose Calvin Ridley to the Titans. Let me just say, I hate this deal for the Titans. I don't know why they did it. They signed him for 4 years, $96 million, when just a couple years ago they traded A.J. Brown because they didn't want to give him 4 years, $100 million. A.J. Brown is way better and younger than Calvin Ridley, so I'm not quite sure what the logic was there. I would have loved to have Calvin Ridley on the Patriots if it was a more team-friendly deal. Once those reports started coming out from Schefter that he didn't really want to be on the Patriots, that he wasn't fond of coming here, okay, then don't. You know what I mean? He's not like a true wide receiver one. I know he's probably the best wide receiver in this free agency class, but if that's the case, then this isn't the year to splurge on a wide receiver, right? If there were better options available, I think the Patriots would have been more aggressive in pursuing one of those options. But to me, Calvin Ridley isn't an alpha. He's not a guy that's going to, absolutely change the dynamic of your team whatsoever. And if he was, the Patriots would have gone after him, more aggressively, but they didn't. So who do you go to now for wide receiver? Like I said, Elliott Wolf apparently is turned his thoughts to the draft. If that's not true, and if he is looking at the trade market, which I think he should, I think there's some good options for him. T. Higgins has requested a trade. I would love to see him in a Patriots uniform. I think he's always, everyone's been touting the Bengals wide receiver weapons as, the best in the NFL for the past few years, because it is the best in the NFL. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are the best 1-2 punch in terms of wideouts that we've seen. And the Patriots have the money to give him a good extension once they trade for him. So I think this is a great idea. I think they should do it. Brandon Ayuk as well from the Niners. He's been, their third or fourth option in that offense when you factor in, Debo and Christian McCaffrey and all that stuff. So, but he's a guy that's capable of being a number one. I really think he is. He's fast. He's got great hands. I think he'd be a great addition. Mike Williams was just released by the Chargers. I think he's worth a look, but he is, 30, coming off of a torn ACL, and his, main specialty is being a deep threat. But if you have those two factors, like coming off of a serious injury like that, and you're getting older, that concerns me. And I would advise the Patriots to maybe stay away from that. I would prefer that they went for one of the former two guys. Some more guys I'd love to trade for. Now that the Chargers have released Mike Williams, I don't think they'll be willing to part with Keenan Allen, but if they were, I would do that. Also, there's just guys on other teams that I would love to see, like, is DK Metcalf on the market? Because they have Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they have Tyler Lockett, so I don't know about that. There's other guys too. The Jags have a ton of wide receivers. So are there teams that, the Patriots could call up and say, like, what's the price on this guy? Can we get him? And see if you can get someone through the market that way, like a true wide receiver one, like one of those guys I just mentioned. I think they could fill that role for the Patriots. If not, there's some good guys in the draft. I know Ladd McKinkley from Georgia. I know a lot of the Patriots fans have been pushing for them to draft him in the second round. So, now that we don't have Bill Belichick and the wide receiver draft curse is hopefully lifted, they can actually draft a good wide receiver in an early round. Here's hoping, right? Also left tackle. Trent Williams is not returning to the Patriots. We know that. Trent Brown, not Trent Williams. Trent Brown is not returning to the Patriots. We know that. So I don't know why Tyron Smith isn't in a Patriots uniform yet. Former Cowboys left tackle, longtime Pro Bowler and starter. I think that he should be who the Patriots go after. Again, if not, there's a ton of options in the draft available, but I don't know why you would wait to draft when you still have, I think they have $50 million left in cap space. So you got to use that money. I'd be really upset if they didn't use that cap space going into this season, because I think you got to throw your best shot at it, right? It's the Patriots. You got to spend all your money. So hopefully they throw a bag at Tyron Smith and then go into the draft with another wide receiver under contract, hopefully, if you can trade for one, and then draft another wide receiver to develop after you, of course, take Drake May or Jane Daniels with that third overall pick. So overall, I'll give a grade for the Patriots free agency so far. We're 3 days in. I would give it a B. I'd give it a B because I think they brought back all the guys that they needed to bring back, right? I'm not too upset, besides Mac Wilson and Jalen Mills, I guess. I'm not too upset with people walking. They did everything they needed to do, barring something crazy happening with Kyle Duggar. If they bring him back as well, I think that's good. I think they could have been more aggressive in pursuing more offensive weapons. But again, if they don't feel like this is the year to do that, which frankly it's not, the talent this year isn't great offensively, besides the running back position, then I understand it. So I'll give them a B. I think they've done a solid job so far. Now turn your attention to the trade market for a wide receiver. Sign Tyron Smith, and that'll bring it up to a B+ or an A- for me. And have a good draft. Your first draft without Bill Belichick, you got to cook something up. So I'd give it a B. I think the free agency has been decent so far. The Celtics finishing off their 5-game road trip with 2 easy wins against some depleted Portland Trailblazers and Utah Jazz teams. When I say depleted, they had a lot of injuries, but even if they didn't, the Celtics still would have probably handled these teams pretty easily. First one was against the Trailblazers in Portland. The Celtics won that one 121-99. I'll be honest, really unmemorable game. It was at 10:30 was the tip-off time, so a lot of people didn't even watch it. I watched it in bed on my laptop because it was getting late. But I'll talk about Jason Tatum. He struggled to shoot the ball yet again, 9 for 23 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3. Jaylen Brown also struggling, 1 for 8 from 3. But Brown was the leading scorer with 27. Sam Hauser had a good game, 6 for 10 from 3, so you'll take that. But, there's just not a lot to go over here. Porzingis didn't play. Horford and Cornette filled in fine for him. Shout out to Delano Banton, man. I mean, he had some decent plays down the stretch, but I'm glad to see him actually carving out a role. I've always thought that he was pretty good. Obviously, never going to get into that rotation on the Celtics because they are already so deep. But I think that Delano Banton can be a fine player in the NBA. I think he has really good handles. He needs to work on his finishing a little bit, and of course his shooting. But as a point guard, I think he's a good passer. He's a good defender. He's got a lot of length, so I think he could be good. I'll move right into the Jazz game because it was slightly more exciting, but again, nothing to really write home about here. In terms of competitiveness in the fourth quarter, the Celtics sort of, took the momentum and ran with it. Derek White, oh my goodness, he has had some rough shooting outings lately, but 7 for 11 from 3, that was good to see. Because again, Derek White for like the first half of the season before the All-Star break was the Celtics' maybe most consistent three-point shooter besides Sam Hauser. He was knocked down from deep, especially late, and he had a great game. 7 for 11, as I mentioned, 24 points, so really good to see him get the shot back. Jaylen Brown was down in this game, and Jason Tatum took advantage. 38 points from him. This was by far the best Tatum game that we've seen in a while. Tatum has struggled before this game for the past week or two. Really struggled in that Nuggets game and ever since then, really. But this was a great bounce back for him, especially without JB. The Jazz really did have a third quarter comeback. Celtics in the third quarter, man. Always a problem for some reason. But the Jazz had a pretty good third quarter comeback, but the Celtics were able to grab that momentum back. And Tatum did his thing. Cornette started because there was no KP and no Al Horford. I thought he did great. He had 12 points and 9 rebounds. Some great defense, too, getting some blocks in there. Cornette's carved out a really good role on this team. And a lot of people thought when Xavier Tillman, myself included, honestly, when Xavier Tillman came to the team, we thought that Tillman was going to soak up some of those minutes as that third-string center. But I think Cornette has really locked up that role. And as the Celtics move into the playoffs, hopefully Porzingis is available to play for the whole time. But if he has to miss a game or two, I think Cornette fills out that backup center role really well. He's been working on his game a lot. It's really obvious to see his screen setting has gotten a lot better. His offensive rebounding has gotten a lot better. His hands have gotten a lot better. So really good stuff for Luke Cornette. I'm really happy for him. 7 points and 8 rebounds for Tillman, who is also solid off the bench. I'll give that to him. Tillman's also a great defender. I think the Celtics have done a really good job at beefing up their center depth for no money at all, because a lot of people were concerned about that. But I think that Cornette and Tillman are both good for different types of matchups. Like Cornette obviously has the height advantage on Tillman, but Tillman's more switchable on smaller attackers. So I think it really depends on the matchup. But Cornette, I thought, he had a great height advantage. The Jazz were playing without Markkanen, so Cornette's tallest guy on the floor. Really good stuff from him. Really happy with how he's progressed this season so far. Pritchard didn't have a great game. Hauser, nothing to write home about. But these two guys, their consistency's kind of fallen off a little bit from the first half of the season, but I don't have much doubts about them heading into this final stretch of the season and, of course, into the playoffs. Tonight, the Phoenix Suns. This should be a great game. It's at the Garden. It's going to be packed. Devin Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal all available. Last time out, Devin Booker was not available, dealing with a sprained ankle. Kristaps Porzingis will not be playing. We don't know yet about Jaylen Brown. He's questionable with that SI strain that's been bugging him. I very much anticipate that he will play, but we'll wait to see. Obviously, this should be, this could end up being one of the games of the year. Just two heavyweights. Another potential finals preview. I don't think it will be a finals preview, but you never know. Durant absolutely cooked the Celtics last time. Almost went for 50 points. Expect him to do that again. Booker's going to go off. Bradley Beal always likes to go off against his best friend in Jason Tatum, who used to babysit back in St. Louis. So expect those three to be good. Nurkic even has been good. This should be a great game. I really wish the Celtics had Kristaps Porzingis and it was both the full rosters, because I'd love to see what happens. If the Celtics don't have Jaylen Brown, the Suns will probably win. But it is in the Garden, so you never know. And the Celtics historically have been decent at guarding Kevin Durant. Besides that last game, when he was on the Nets, the Celtics would give him hell. So we'll see if they can, come back to that form. He also, Kevin Durant has to share the ball now with Devin Booker, both ball dominant guys. So we'll see how that goes. If Jaylen Brown plays, I think Boston wins. I wouldn't bet on anything tonight. I think the line's 5.5 for the Celtics right now. There might be news about Jaylen Brown as I'm recording this at about 3:20. I doubt it, though. I assume we'll get it in another couple hours. But yeah, I think it's simple as that. If JB plays, the Celtics win. If he doesn't play, Phoenix wins. Regardless, this is a game that I'd be fine with the Celtics losing. Fully healthy Phoenix team. So, they're 9.5 games above second seed now. So, like, these games coming on the stretch are kind of just for consolation for the media to speculate. If the Celtics win, they say nothing. And if they lose, well, the Celtics are going to lose in the finals. The classic anti-Celtics media agenda. But, yeah, I think that if this game really rests on JB playing or not, I really hope Tatum has a good game tonight. It'd be good to see him show up in a big game like this, which he hasn't consistently done lately. No hate on Tatum. I love Tatum, but I would love to see him show up tonight. Yeah, it should be a great battle. I'm really looking forward to it. 7:30 p.m. national television. TNT, I believe, has it tonight. Yeah, it's Thursday, so TNT. Should be a great game. Make sure to tune in. Like I said, I'm going to assume JB plays, so I will take the Celtics, but in a really, really close game. Now, just after last episode, when I said the Bruins, when they play like this, they're borderline unbeatable. They're one of the best teams in the NHL. They lose 5-1 to the St. Louis Blues in a game that they really should have won in all aspects. They're a better team. They had more chances. I think they had double the expected goals as St. Louis, but regardless, they lost. I feel like they didn't have that spark in the first period that we usually expect from them, that energy, and they went down early, unfortunately, and they just couldn't get back into it. Joel Hofer with a great game in net, put up 36 saves, so, it's tough to bounce back from a deficit when you have the goalie on the other side playing that well. The score shouldn't have been that bad, though, I don't think. It shouldn't have been a blowout. I don't think that score was reflective at all of the game, because I think, one, the Bruins should have won, but two, it shouldn't have been that bad, because the Bruins, did have more expected chances. They set themselves up better for success, I thought. Again, just that lack of energy in the first period was not good. It shouldn't have been that bad. I'm not going to, harp on it too much. I'm going to move on because I think it's an anomaly. I really do. I don't think the Bruins will lose too many games like that, where it's just a blowout, especially come playoff time. I'm more afraid of the close losses where they get complacent or the guys in the first and second lines get too tired in playoff series, but I'm going to roll right through this because I don't think it matters that much. Tonight is a great chance for a bounce-back game against the Montreal Canadiens. Boston are the heavy favorites. I believe they're minus 210 money line to win on the road. Obviously, the Bruins' record is a lot better, but in the last 10 games, actually, they only have one more total win. So, anything can happen, and the Bruins will be missing Matt Grzelcyk and James Van Riemsdyk tonight because I think they're sick, is what Montgomery said. I think they're feeling under the weather. So Andrew Peeke, the new defenseman that the Bruins signed, will be making his debut, the new defenseman. So hopefully we see good stuff from him. Hopefully he can provide a spark for the defense that has definitely struggled at times this season. Montreal is coming off a 3-0 victory, and Bruins are coming off of a loss. I think a bounce-back win here would be huge for the Bruins, just to, in this final stretch of the season, you're really just trying to build momentum going into the playoffs, and they need to start doing that. They need to, cut out these ugly losses against, lesser teams and really just start to put together a run. I'm hoping that, it's just a big bounce-back performance all around. Hopefully Geek can, hold together that defense in the absence of Grzelcyk and Van Riemsdyk, because I think that the defense has struggled mightily this season. So hopefully Geek can be a good, Peeke can be a good addition into the defense. And hopefully, they just keep playing forward. Hopefully we get Pastrnak involved again. I think that, it's going to be about energy and tempo, create more shots in them, create more chances, and you live with the results. The results last game, even though they did create more chances, going towards the end of the game, it didn't work out well. They might have had more expected goals. It doesn't matter. The only stat that matters is the final score. So hopefully they can push on tonight and get a big win. We'll see what happens. Now, the only team in the Boston area that might need a win more than the Bruins, actually definitely does need a win more than the Bruins, is the New England Revolution. 0-3 so far in league play, as I've touched on. Now, tonight they do have a match. It's in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is sort of like an international cup that a lot of people don't really care about. But they are up 4-0 on aggregate, which means that it's a combination of the two game scores. So in the last game, they scored 4 goals. They beat them 4-0. So tonight, the only way that they lose is if they lose 5-0 or 4-0 and it goes to extra time or penalties, and then they lose. So I very much, this shouldn't be a problem for them. Porter will probably run with a bench unit. He won't play his starters because he wants them to be rested for this weekend's much bigger match back in the MLS. So the Revs will be coming home this weekend to Foxborough, Gillette Stadium. They'll be playing against FC Cincinnati, who are 1-2-0, which means they have 1 win, 2 draws, 0 losses so far this season. They've actually scored the same amount of goals as New England this season, which is just 2. In their second game, they scored 2 goals. The other ones have been 0-0 draws. So their defense has looked really good. They've only conceded 1 goal so far this season throughout 3 games. Much better than the Revs, obviously. But their offense has been meh so far. So I think this should be a close game. I think that it's going to be important for the Revolution to dig deep and get by some of their defenders so that they can obviously, generate some attacking momentum. It's just going to be tough because his defense is so good. But for some of your guys, like Vrioni needs to have a bounce-back game. He hasn't been good so far this season. He needs to really establish himself as that true Revolution number 9 going forward, because if not, they're probably going to look to either Shankala to fill in that role or they'll look to someone else. So I think that'll be interesting to see from him. Ravas also needs a bounce-back game, the goalkeeper, because he hasn't been great throughout 3 games so far. I just think this is obviously a huge game, right? Because you need to get that 1 win in domestic play in the MLS to regain your confidence, to, sort of boost your morale and hopefully go on a streak and position yourself to be in that, playoff race again. The Revs are far from it right now. I think they're the only team in the East that are 0-3. Let me fact check that. But it's not a good look regardless. So the Revolution, oh no, New York City FC is also 0-3. Regardless, it's not a company that you want to be in. They are dead last in terms of goal differential as well with that 0-3. They're last place in the East. First time they've gone 0-3 since 2001, as I mentioned last episode. So this is a huge bounce-back win. Keys to the game, like I said. The defense has to hold strong because this isn't as talented of an offense as they've seen with any other team this season, actually. I think Cincinnati has probably the least talented offense that they've seen so far, so the defense has to have a good game, and counterattacking is going to be really important as well because the Revolution have that speed. Cincinnati is going to be a tough defense to break down, but it's going to be counterattacking football. It's going to be, what you really want to see is speed, attacking in transition, and hopefully finding a goal scorer. I assume it's going to be Carles Hill. The 2 goals that New England have had so far this season have been tremendous curlers by Carles Hill, so I think he'll either be the scorer or be involved in the goal. I'd love to see Shankala get into the books for this season. I'd love to see Vrioni have a good game, even though I am a Vrioni doubter. I don't want to be a Vrioni doubter. I want him to be good. He just hasn't been good so far this season. So looking forward to a bounce-back game, hopefully, from the Revolution. I think that they have a good chance at winning this one, but until they do, I can't predict them to win. I'm going to take a 1-1 draw. Like I've said all season, they have the talent to win games at the MLS level. They just have to actually do it. Just like the Bruins, they just have to actually do it. Like what the Celtics are doing. The Celtics are beating these lowly teams, but the Bruins and the Revolution need to step up and start doing it. So I will take a 1-1 draw. I think it won't be the most entertaining game in the world, but that's, the Revolution will get a point, and they'll get on the board for the season, hopefully. Fingers crossed. That is all the time I have for today for Titletown Talk. I'm your host, Jackson Tolliver. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in. I'll see you on Sunday.